I'm happy to welcome Lauren Fix back to the program. She's an automotive expert and journalist, host of the Total Car Score podcast, and she also has a brand new piece out for Blaze Media's Align. It's why states are quietly moving to restrict how much you drive, which is very disturbing. I want to get to that here in a second. Lauren, thanks so much for coming back on the program.
Well, thanks for having me back. Yeah, it's a lot of interesting states have started to maybe take over rules for themselves because they didn't like that the federal government didn't stand behind their obtuse rules, shall I put it nicely?
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. Of course, this has been, I want to get to that story here in a second, but this has been the purview of the federal government for a while now to encourage people to drive less, apparently to tell us what cars to buy, what cars not to buy. One of the ways they do that is with economic incentives, and they have had this giant tax credit for electric vehicles that has been going on for a long time. I mean, it's certainly part of the reason why the industry even exists at this point. However, that's going kapoof in just a couple of weeks, really. It's in September. So what goes away here, and what is this going to do to the industry?
Okay, as of September 30th, that $7,500 tax credit, which is your tax dollars, is going away. And what that means is if you're wishing to purchase an electric car, now is the time to do so. And the reason for that is because you're not going to get any tax credit at all. Some states are still offering tax credits, such as California, New York, but they're also running out of funds. California's run out of funds multiple times, New Jersey and New York, and so they may give you an extra $2,000. Again, this is a tax credit. So if you owe more than $2,000 in state taxes, you would get the credit. That's not a check to you. That's not a discount on the price, and that $7,500 is the same thing. But if you make more than a certain amount of money, again, you got to check with your accountant or joint filing, then you wouldn't be eligible. And so these are huge issues that manufacturers are living with, because without that tax credit, I expect that sales of electric vehicles to drop below 4% and maybe eventually get even lower. And the reason for that is if it's not incentivized, people don't want it. And currently, the way it's incentivized, it only helps people that make a lot of money.
What is the percentage right now for electric vehicles in the market?
It's about 6%, and we're talking about the United States, and Canada also has the same issue. They're going to get rid of their federal tax credit because it doesn't make sense. In Europe, it's a whole nother animal. There's tons of incentives, and they actually tax people for not purchasing electric vehicles. So if you have an older gasoline-powered car, like you live in the UK, they are nailing you with thousands of dollars a year just to drive the vehicle that you own. And I'm sure they would have loved to bring that here, but with President Trump, that is not going to happen.
No, we've got at least a few years before that's going to be broken up.
Yeah, right.
What happens? So, down to 4%, we've already seen, Tesla seems to be desperately trying to get cars out the door right now. They just started a lease program of used vehicles in Texas and California, where they're advertising really low rates, although it doesn't seem like they're actually giving them. It's a whole other story. Where does this put Tesla? Where does this put these other automakers?
Well, Tesla's a different situation. Currently, Elon Musk owns about 60% of the electric car market. So that's good for them. So even if this tax credit goes away, Tesla's not going anywhere. People that love the brand, love the way he sells cars, loves the vehicles. There's so many people that are loyal to the brand. Those people will probably remain. On a used car side, I wouldn't buy a used electric vehicle. Personally, it's like buying a used phone. You don't know what you're getting. On the other hand, as far as other brands, some brands will do well. I think a Hyundai will come in. They're already saying with the Hyundai and Kia will have the Kona EV. They'll have the smaller EVs for those people that want them. Ford will sell the Mach-E as long as they can. And the Lightning truck, well, we know there's going to be a lot less of those. And Ford, on one hand, like GM, said we're going to build what people want. We're going to build gas-powered vehicles. But on the other hand, they're like, well, we're not really letting go of EVs. It's almost like they're afraid the government's going to change their mind. And that is not the case in this particular case. Taking away that electric vehicle mandate was huge. It was Lee Zeldin. He worked with a bunch of other people internally, including President Trump. That is signed, that is done. There will no longer be any way to have a federal mandate in the future, so we won't see that in the future administration. It would be almost impossible to remove the EV mandate, taking it away. And I've also done articles on that, which I believe is also on Align. So it's important to note that if you do own an electric vehicle and you love it, that's great. You should be able to drive and choose what you want. But note that tax credit for the installing the charging system in your home goes away at the end of the year. So it's $1,200 currently. That will go away permanently on the end of this year. So something to think about.
You had mentioned the Tesla owning 60% of the market, and you're talking about the American market, right? What's fascinating, I think, about this is the China's role in all of this. Now, it's not going to be a massive factor here in the United States because we have huge tariffs on these. And in a way, I was thinking about, like, this is not the exact same thing, but like back in the day, there would be like this, like the Soviet Union, for example, didn't let any products in from the United States, and I used to marvel at like how they weren't aware of like our basic things, the cool stuff we had in the United States, because they wouldn't import anything. We're kind of like that with China and EVs in that, not that they're high quality, but they do have now, the BYD is the largest EV manufacturer in the world when it comes to the world.
Correct.
There was a story I saw recently, I think it was just like a YouTube video from a guy who went to China and saying that they now have 5-minute chargers in China that they're starting to churn out. That could get you for, I think, up to like 60% in 5 minutes. Is this the type of thing that we keep like talking about? Oh, we're gonna have EVs here. We're sort of like ignoring the Chinese market and we're being pushed behind, or is this just hype from China?
It's hype from China. There's a whole bunch of things you said there that are really important to note. You do not want to be in a car that's on a super fast charger like that charges that quickly. If you've ever felt the heat from a contact charger, like you put your phone on one of those wireless chargers and you put it down, how hot that gets, imagine how hot your car would get inside with that type of quick charging. You'd be looking at what they call 440, which is super fast charging. You'd also probably fry yourself or your animals or your children who are in the car. So that would not be wise. And again, China has different laws and regulations than we do here in the US. I can't imagine that would be allowed by the federal government. You can make anything. That doesn't mean you can make a concrete life preserver. That doesn't mean it's a great idea. And so they do have like companies like NIO where you can do replaceable batteries. They've had a few issues with that. We can pull out the battery and put in a new battery. That might be a future issue that might work. I think the big problem with the Chinese cars, which by the way are not allowed in Canada either, there's a 100% tariff in Canada as well as the US, so you'll never see them here. And I've driven a few of them. They're actually quite interesting, and I've reviewed a few of them when I get the opportunity because it's kind of neat to see what they're like. They're far from the quality of what we offer, but they've really stepped up their game. But remember, China's whole goal was they could not beat us in the gasoline-powered market. They tried, they couldn't. So instead, they created these electric cars, and they own all the mines, at least not in the US, but across the world, that make all the minerals that we need in order to get these batteries. So that's a great way to say everyone should have electric cars. But in the meantime, while they're saying this, they're also putting up nuclear power plants. They're putting in gas stations everywhere. They've got tons of power available because they're using so much of it. Here in the US, we have genius governors like in New York and California that are shutting down nuclear power plants, don't want gas being produced in their state or refined. And the result is we as residents, and I live in New York State, are paying crazy numbers for electricity. My personal electric bill has doubled just this year, and I'm in darkness now, and I'm still getting tons of bills. I mean, it's crazy. Gasoline prices are higher, and that's what they originally planned, was to get you dedicated on to electric and then keep raising the prices and eventually go, I can't drive. And it's about control, 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 which is what China loves to do to their people. We don't want that here.
I would agree with that sentiment exactly. And it's the sentiment that you are addressing in your latest piece in Align. It's called Why States Are Quietly Moving to Restrict How Much You Drive. Now, I am of the opinion that we're supposed to be able to go wherever we want to go in the United States. We're supposed to have freedoms here. This is the whole concept of the nation. Federal government doesn't agree with me all that much, and neither does do these state governments, especially in blue states. What are they trying to do to restrict people's driving?
Well, this is interesting. So the federal government is, at least under this administration, would not want to restrict your driving. But states like Massachusetts, Minnesota, Colorado, Oregon, New York, New Jersey, California, and Washington, the usual suspects, are starting to put little legislation in place. And it's very creatively worded. They're not saying we're going to restrict your driving. What they do is like in Massachusetts, Senate Bill S 2246, which Majority Leader Cynthia Cream put in place, is talking about limiting mileage based on, they can say it's pollution, they can say it's road use, they're calling it vehicle mileage taxes, so they're going to tax you one way or the other. And part of this restriction, and by the way, this is already through the legislation. This could be voted in place, and those that live in the state of Massachusetts that are watching really want to pay attention to this, because if this goes through, it starts with, oh, no, we're just monitoring your mileage, to, no, if you go over this mileage, like some countries are doing, we're going to make it so you can't drive your car, or make it so expensive that you can't. In some other countries, they're already limiting your air miles. So if you travel for work, like I do and you do, they're not going to let you do that. If you're an on-the-road salesperson and you have to drive those miles, how are you supposed to do your job? Interesting. This is something they never think about. Very typical legislation. Let's just make the rule, and then we'll figure out how to adjust it accordingly.
Well, I mean, look, we saw how well the homeschooling worked during COVID. We could just all do Zoom calls and everything will turn out fine, I'm sure. Lauren Fix, automotive expert and host of the Total Car Score podcast. Be sure to check her out and her new piece over at the Blaze Media's Align. It is Why States Are Quietly Moving to Restrict How Much You Drive. Lauren, I appreciate all this. It's a crazy time in the automobile industry. I appreciate your content here.
It is, and I'll be monitoring it and posting it on Align. Thanks.
Thank you.
If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts. You can support me by buying me a cup of coffee, and if you want even more content, check out the links in the description. I'm Lauren Fix. Thank you so much for watching.